Welcome to the In Her Image podcast. I'm your host, Andrea John. This is season 4, Formed, Becoming Who God Made You to Be. In this season, I get to sit down with incredible women for honest, weekly conversations as we explore the character traits of the Proverbs 31 woman. Pull up a chair and join the conversation. Hello, ladies, and welcome back to the In Her Image podcast. I am your host, Andrea John, and let's just start off by addressing the situation that if you're listening live and you listen to this every week, we are late because I was supposed to post this on Tuesday morning, and it is now Wednesday when I'm recording this, and we still don't have the episode up. So I apologize for that. I do have a full-time job. Going on vacation always sounds so lovely, but when you're the only one who does what you do at work and you're gone, everyone waits for you. So when I came back, I had a lot to catch up on. I don't know if any of you can relate, but going on vacation, sometimes the lead up to and the coming back is like all the work you missed. It happens right before you leave and right after you come back. But I didn't want to work on this episode with frustration or anything like that because I really believe that everything we do pours out of our heart. So I wanted to make sure that my heart was nice and rested and ready to do this because today we are going to talk with Juanita Phillips, and she's an amazing person. And I wanted to do her episode justice, so I wanted to make sure we edited it well and that I worked on it with a heart of joy. So there's that. Now, I do have an announcement, so that's why I'm also doing this intro to the episode, because the Inner Image book club, we're moving on to the next book. So when we did the book club in January, I thought it's going to be a static book club. We'll do the 31 days. It'll live forever. But so many women reached out to me and was like, what's our next book? Because they really liked having that accountability all the time and doing it as a group. And after prayer and thinking about it, what I decided to do was for our next book to be my first book, The Journey. This study, well, let me just say this. The book is an interactive Bible study. And it's one that's really close to my heart because it follows the path that I personally took after my encounter with God in my kitchen in 2016. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. You can go back to past episodes. But I had an encounter with God in my kitchen in 2016, completely changed my life. He revealed himself as love to me, and it changed everything. And after that, I realized that I didn't know God. I knew of him. I knew about him. I had grown up in church, Bible studies, worship leaders, all the things. But I realized that there was this aspect of God's nature that I wasn't familiar with or intimate with. So it led me on this journey to pursue God and understand who he is. And this interactive Bible study basically walks us through that and some of the key concepts of things that I learned about God that changed my relationship with God. It changed how I view God, how I view others, how I view humanity, how I view myself. So changing the lens in which I show up in the world has been just so instrumental in who you know today and who you're meeting today through this podcast and the book and the devotional, the Facebook group has really been shaped by what I cover in the book, The Journey. So I'm excited to be able to go through that book with all of you because there's some history with that book. I was not really proud of the book when it first came out. There was a first edition, had a blue cover, which if you do the audio, you're going to notice that blue cover is different. And it's just the people helped me publish it. Just, I was not happy with it. And I didn't want people to pick up the book. I was embarrassed by it. And I just thought I'd never do it again. Long story short, I wound up reworking on the book, created a second edition. That's the cover with the girl on top of the mountain. And I really haven't done much with the book. So I'm excited to walk this journey with you guys because I just think it's going to be amazing. I really think it'll be life-changing for all of us. I I'm excited to go through it again, to be honest, because some of the concepts covered in the book, I do talk about in her image to some degree. It's in his image as well. But to really dive deep and study the scriptures the way I did in that book, that's going to be so much fun, and to do it with all of you. So if you want to participate, make sure to sign up for the book club. I'm going to put the link in the show notes. You go to andreajohn.com/IHI book club, and you can sign up, and that makes sure that you get the emails that we're going to do daily, as well as the link for the Zoom, because the other thing we're going to do is we're going to meet weekly to talk about the book. So Monday is going to be our first time together, and it really is going to be more of an intro, talking through it, getting to know everyone that's coming. And then, we'll meet every Monday after that so we can talk about each week one at a time. There will be some daily readings I'll put in the Facebook group, and also will be sent in email. So if you really want to participate with us in this, I would say make sure to join up for the book club. It is absolutely free to join. If you want to do the study with us, you can pick up the journey on Amazon. I'll put the link in the show notes. You have the paperback, you have Kindle, and you also have audiobook. The audiobook is the first edition, so it's slightly different from the book that's out now, but the concept and the core, the meat of it is all the same. So if you're a young mom, you're busy, you prefer to listen, pick that up. The audiobook is something I was very proud of. I worked really hard on it with my brother. He's a sound engineer, so he helped me put the whole thing together. So I hope that you join us in that. So make sure you sign up for the book club. If you want to purchase the book and can't find it on Amazon, if you're on Amazon, just put The Journey Andrea John and it should come up. Or you can go to andreajohn.com/resources, and you'll have the links to all of the versions out there. We do start on Monday, so make sure to pick up your book so you get it on time. Obviously, Kindle, you get it right away. But let's get into talking with Juanita. I cannot wait for you to join us in this conversation about goodness. One of the things I love about chatting with all these women is that they all offer their own perspective, and everyone is going through something different in life. So depending on where you are in life, the message hits a little bit different. So it's interesting to hear how, with what's going on in these women's life, how this character trait impacts them. And sometimes the conversation kind of takes a little bit of a different turn, but it all fits together. And that's one of the things I love about Proverbs 31, Proverbs in general, is how everything is just so intertwined. And it's not about being perfect, but it's just about being better every day and conforming to the image of Christ. So guys, I cannot wait for you to meet Juanita. She is the gentlest, most beautiful soul. So without further ado, come sit at the table with us and let's have a chat with Juanita. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. We have an incredible guest. Her name is Juanita, and I cannot wait for you to meet her. I met Juanita with Paper Crown Media. She's an author, and she's going through the mentoring process and all of that. And the amazing thing is, as we go through this with authors, we get to hear their story and their heart. And Juanita was just someone that I was like, everyone needs to meet Juanita because she has so much to offer. She is a young mom who can identify. I know I've had so many young moms reach out to me recently. You know, it's just the struggle bus, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that, but the struggle bus, spending time with God and all of that. And Juanita is really working on putting something out there for young moms who just need that support. So Juanita, I like you introduce yourself. So tell everyone who you are and what they should know about you.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Juanita. I've been married to my husband Matthew for 4 years. We live in Florida. And last year we welcomed our little boy Elijah. He is a cutie. He's so energetic. And yeah, so I came across, well, I was able to meet Andrea because um, I wrote a children's book a long time ago. And this year, I just felt very clear that God wanted me to move forward with it. So, I mean, I don't know. What else would you like to share?
Well, you also, and we can remind everyone later, but you also are building a group for moms
Yes.
and yeah, and starting to work on that. So I'm excited for everyone to have that because I know that just based on what I've been hearing, moms of young children are in desperate need.
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes.
and I really struggled. It was really a struggle. And in that struggle, I wanted to do something about it because I know I'm not the only one.
Yep.
It is a very tender season, and you go through so many changes that I think it's just, even in that, it's hard to process. So I wanted to open a space for moms to gather once a week online for teaching and devotional, and then continued conversation through a Facebook group.
Amazing. Yes. So I know one of the things that I shifted my priorities a little bit because for In Her Image, I have all these plans. I have a list of things that I want to do. And one of them is to have a version of In Her Image for different age groups. So little kids all the way to older women, experienced women and wise women. And I have been hearing so much from young moms that that's actually going to be one of my priorities
Yeah. Oh.
because, and the other thing is record my book in audio because
Mm-hmm.
I know young moms, it would be so much easier if they could pop in headphone versus reading the devotional. So
Yeah.
that's something that I'm going to be focusing on for the young mamas out there.
No, that sounds very amazing. And it's
Yes.
gonna bless many people. Mm-hmm.
So this week we're focusing on the character trait goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And I have obviously, it's been several weeks since I was like, I need to have Juanita on this podcast. And as I was looking at the character traits and seeing, which ones were already taken, there was this one that actually I was going to have Melisa on for, but every time we were on a Zoom call or something, I just would think, this is Juanita, this is Juanita, this is Juanita. So here we are. And goodness is one of those words that it's it's simple, but it's like, what does that mean? What does it mean for me to be good? Because sometimes I feel like it can be a trait that's very left to each person to decide what good is and what good is not, which is
Yeah.
when I think of it, in today's world, there's so much good versus evil and a lot of thought about good versus evil. And I always pause and ask myself, how much of the tree of good and evil are we eating versus the tree of life?
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
But goodness is a trait, and I believe that it's one that obviously God carries, and in that we can reflect Him. So, with that being said, when you think, because I know what I think, when you think of goodness, someone being good, what is it that you think of?
Well, I know sometimes, we think of a word and we think that we know what that means, but I always like to go to the dictionary or just to make sure that I'm on the same page and I actually am thinking what it actually means. But I also like to go to the Hebrew.
Okay.
And I was just reading a bit about it. The first thing I thought really is the opposite of evil. Um, But then when I looked into it, I saw that it was something beneficial. And that in and of itself, I thought, well, if I am good, then that means I'm doing something beneficial for others.
Other centered, I call it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it, like in and of itself, that's really where I'm at with the goodness.
I love that because it's so simple. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's easy to apply, much like when I had Shirley on and she talked about advocacy, and I asked her, it was so simple and easy to apply. And it's so beautiful because when I was looking at having guests on to talk about these character traits, that was my heart. My heart was, how can we explore these traits and make them practical and easy for women to apply, where it's not some super deep thing all the time, and like,
Yeah.
how do I filter my day where I can work on these traits? Because what I did with the group, especially those who went through the book club, we went through it in January. So we did 31
Mhm.
days of Proverbs 31. And what I invited them to do was to pick just one or two character traits that they could work on throughout the year. Because to work on all 31 is very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So pick one or two. And then in that, as we explore each one, giving people just some practical ways. So this is so beautiful. Being good is being beneficial to someone else's life.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at that, how I had mentioned before, I think God is a very good God. So do you have any thoughts about how goodness is reflected in the sense that God is good and therefore we're just reflecting him? Like, how do you see God as good? In what ways?
Sure. I think that goodness is the foundational attribute of everything that God is. Like, it is because He is good that He is provider, that He is healer. His motivation behind everything that He does comes from that He's good.
Yes.
And if we go back to Genesis, the beginning, I also noticed something very interesting. And it was that God, in his goodness, he said, this is good and this is not. And he was just placing boundaries, which to me means that goodness is connected with boundaries.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
but so yeah, it's foundational to everything that he is. And the motivation, I think motivation is also key when it comes to God or when it comes to us. Why are we doing this? Are we doing the whatever we're doing for ourselves, for God, focusing on others?
Yes, the intention. I talk a lot
Mm-hmm.
about that. What is your motivation? What is your intention? Because ultimately, that's what God cares about, right? We're not always going to have the result that we looked for, but
Mm-hmm.
if we had the best of intention, then I think God does care about it. And I know we often hear our intentions don't matter. And it usually is because the reality is the person didn't have good intention and you know it.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, but I didn't mean to. And you kind of know, no, you did mean to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's a word that gets distorted, when say your intentions don't matter. I've recently been talking to my husband about how culture takes words. I'm a word lover. Like, I was just in a bookstore this weekend, and Mike had left to go into another store, and I sat in the bookstore. It was like an old-timey bookstore. So it wasn't Barnes and Noble or anything. It was like a real bookstore. And I sat in there, and I have to admit, I got emotional because I'm looking around, and it wasn't even like Christian books. It was just like a bookstore. And I'm looking around, and I'm just like, look at all these words, because I see that as people's heart. These
Yes,
are
totally.
books filled with the hearts of people. And yeah, there's fiction and stuff like that, and some of it's suspense and mystery, but still, like, it's their heart in the sense of it's their art.
Mm-hmm.
Like what it takes now to put
Mm-hmm.
a book together and to do what needs to be done to deliver a message. And to me, it's such an honor. So yeah. So anyway, that was my little thing. Words matter. And when words get distorted,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes hard because now we may be using the same word, but it doesn't mean the same thing. We're not talking apples to apples. And this
Mm-hmm.
happened because I was having a conversation with my husband about something, and he was using the word in one way and I was using it in another way, and he knew it. And I was just like, uh, apples and oranges, dude. And
Yeah.
then there's times recently where I've seen people misuse the phrase image of God. They're using it as a weapon, and that is obviously a topic I am near and dear to. So it's been infuriating. And intentions is one of those where the word intentions has been used to justify people's bad actions,
Mm-hmm.
and we hear intentions don't matter, but I believe that God does care about our intentions, very much so, because it all
Okay.
comes down to the heart.
Yes. Um and to like I was thinking goodness equals godly,
Mm,
right?
yep.
And so, what am I doing in my daily life? Sure, I have to do all these things. In my case, I need to wake up, feed the baby, change diapers. What is my attitude, when I do all those things?
Yes, that's so true. And that's something that I want to discuss with young moms because obviously I've been there at some point. Now I'm way later in, with teenagers and young adults, but I wish I could go back and appreciate that a little bit more. And instead of seeing it as a chore or a task that's taking me away from something I want to do, that I could see it as me loving on my child, me caring for them, me raising them. At some point, it shifted for me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could have that attitude when they were younger, I think that mom that I was, because my daughters know, like, there was a shift in me as mom when they were around like 8 to 10 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
I wish who I am as mom today, they had as mom when they were littles. So
That
it's,
that makes sense, but I do want to extend some grace because I think we're too hard as moms. And
yeah.
I think that we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, we really suck. And I don't think that's it. I think that, especially with the first, you have really no idea what you're doing. Like, I had a home birth, and after the midwives left, and I was just there with my husband, I remember that we looked at each other and we're like, I can't believe they just left us here with a baby. Yeah, I was just like, and it's a whole process of learning. But the thing is that you don't think that you're gonna be that exhausted, right? You don't think that uh as the days go by, because when you're pregnant, I think that you're in this like season of, oh, it's gonna be so beautiful, and then I'm gonna have so much time, and we're gonna read. It's kind of romanticizing, but then you
Yeah.
get to the point and you're like, it's nothing like what you expected. It's beautiful. And it's beautiful to see your baby grow and learn new things and then learn new words. But it's tiring and it's hard. And you have no time for yourself. And I remember at the beginning, if I didn't shower in the morning, showering was nowhere near the picture until after lunch. And that was really a struggle. It was really a struggle to like put my life together again. Like I feel like it's been I had to found who I am again in this season.
Yes. And it's actually beautiful because I know some women, and I know we're a little off topic, but I think this is so relevant. Some women can feel lost, but the
Mm,
reality is who you're gonna find is actually a fuller and better version of yourself.
mm,
Because as a mom, and this is no knock to someone who's not a mom, like a birth
yeah.
mom, because every woman nurtures, like it's in
Mm-hmm.
every woman, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. But when you have a child, something kicks in and you have this opportunity to reveal God to this little person, to see God in a little person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a beautiful moment. And I know that it can feel scary, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're lost. You don't know what you're doing. It's so different from what it was before. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how many moms do we hear? I feel like I lost myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's really you're on the way to finding yourself
Yes.
because you only knew one version of yourself. And now you're finding this other version of yourself that's strong and capable. Like how most moms, I know there's the occasional bad story, so we're not focusing on that. We're focusing
Mm-hmm.
on the norm. Most moms, like, they would kill for their children. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, there is this
Yes.
instinctive desire to protect, to care for, to love, to
Mm-hmm.
nurture. Like, how much more? If let's take it back to goodness. Like, if God is a good father,
Mm-hmm.
how much more? If we are good parents, if you're a good mom and I'm a good mom and we would do anything for our kids, how much better is God than us then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so incredible to see, like, and then like you said in the beginning when God created, each day says like it is good. And then once it is good, he moves on to the next thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be good again. There was only one time God said it was not good.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when man was alone, which brings us to a topic that's totally separate, but the importance of community. So keep
Yes.
that in mind. That's so important. Okay, so on the topic of goodness, now, one of the things that I've taught for several years, me and my husband, because we have a ministry, and we believe in the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and we're pretty
Mm-hmm.
what I call supernatural people. But let me rephrase, and we also must live with the fruit of the Spirit because
Mm-hmm.
those who live according to the Spirit produce a certain fruit.
Yes.
Sorry. And one of the fruit of the Spirit is goodness. So, with all of this, like you defining goodness and you talking about, what it means to you and how we see it in God, what do you think it means? Like, how does it make you feel that of all the fruit of the Spirit, goodness is one of them? Because to me, it tells me it's important. So, what does that mean to you? Like, how do you bear the fruit of goodness?
I think that I think that to say that we need to maybe talk a bit about the idea of, I guess, what society says that goodness is. So I think
Mhm.
that so many times we confuse those meanings. So I was thinking, what does society says? And usually, if we think of something good, of someone that is good, we think, oh, they're happy all the time, or like emotions that feel good. But if you look at the Christian life, I don't think that's that at all. If anything, it's often going through the trials, through pain and suffering. I think it's First Peter that says, be joyful in all trials,
Yeah.
right? And joy is also a fruit of the spirit that I think it's connected with goodness. Because when we walk, for example, through a trial, right, there is a good outcome for us in the end. Our character is going to mature. We're going to be more like Christ. Areas in our life are going to experience healing, right? And there's going to be joy. But as I guess that's countercultural because I think as human beings, we want to do the opposite, right? We see a trial, we feel pain or suffering, and we just want to go the other direction. And so I think that it is, as we walk with Christ, accepting really the things that He has placed in front of us and surrendering maybe those expectations and ideas that maybe are not true. Like it's gonna be easy. Sure, I truly believe God as a father wants to give us our best. But sometimes his best comes wrapped in very difficult circumstances. And I think if I look back, and always I want to avoid that for sure. I do. And sometimes, it's inevitable. I can't. And I found that as I've walked through hard circumstances, he has always been present and he's leading me right by his hand. And he's always very gracefully, because I don't think that sometimes, I mean, he's God, but he reveals the why and gives purpose to our pain.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, I mean, when you're going through it, his goodness is there. He is there holding you. And on the other side, you are going to be stronger.
Hmm.
I know the other day I heard a video. I was listening, I don't know if it was a podcast, I don't know what I was listening to, but they said, they compared trials in life to, or difficult situations to someone going through a storm. So you see a storm coming
Hmm.
and you decide you're going to turn around to try to get away from the storm.
Hmm.
Eventually, the storm's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
And he was saying, when I see a storm, I go straight for the storm. I go into the storm because I know all I have to do is get to the other side. And I know enough to know that if I head to the storm, through the storm, I will get past the storm quicker than when I try to run away from the storm. Because the
Mm,
storm will catch up, and now you're under the storm the whole time.
yeah.
And
That's
that was
really
such
good.
a great metaphor. And I thought, yes, that is so true. It's uncomfortable to look at the trials and to say, are you crazy? There's no way I'm going to run into it. Like, who wants that? But in my life, unfortunately, I have gone through quite a bit. And to me, I would rather face it head on, deal with
Hmm.
it, get away with it, because it kind of lingers if you don't, makes it last longer.
Mm, that's true.
So
And
that
then,
metaphor definitely hit home.
yeah, I think that if we resist, it's just gonna be harder for sure.
Yes. Because
And
then you're not open to what
mhm,
lessons and strength. Like sometimes it's not about the lesson you learn. Because I think people go to that like, well, sometimes bad things just happen. Like we live in a fallen world, people do mean things all the time. We are surrounded by people who don't have Christ as their Lord like we
mhm,
do. So
yeah,
even if you live a life filled with peace and hope and you live a life of goodness, you are surrounded by people that you love that may not, right? And you're going to
mhm,
feel it. And sometimes bad things happen. And it's not about trying to find why did that happen to me. It's more about, I think, because when you were talking, I thought about this. It's about finding the goodness while you're going through the trial and
mm,
making sure that the trial doesn't make you not good,
yes.
right? Like,
Yeah.
don't let the trial destroy that fruit in your life because it gets
Mm-hmm.
hard. Because when it's hard, think about it. When it's hard and you're going through the trial, when we look at the definition you had for goodness, where it's being beneficial to someone else, it's hard to be beneficial to someone else
Mm-hmm.
when you're going through a trial.
Mm,
So when you're going through a trial, you have the opportunity to build some goodness in your life.
mm. Yes,
Easier
that's
said
really
than
good.
done.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes. That's so important, I think.
Have you
Because
have you ever had a situation where you had a hard time like finding that goodness in your life?
yes, and I laugh because I've not only have one, but like 1,000. Yes.
And
Uh,
what have you done in your life to help you stay good, like in terms of goodness, like
mhm.
keeping that character trait in your life despite all the trials you have?
Sure. I think the first thing I would say is be connected to the vine, to Christ, because trials can change you 100%. I think that if we are not vigilant, we can become someone we don't like, someone that looks much different from the beginning of the trial. And I think I've been through that. I think that. Yeah, just really being vigilant. I did my husband and I are struggling with some issues with his family, and it's been very hard, but at the beginning because of many things. I think one being anxiety. I I was changing and I was becoming this angry, irritable person. Because of God's grace, He showed me that, and I think that's one thing we have to lean to hear the voice of the Holy Spirit guiding us through the trial. It is very easy to turn left, to turn right, but if we keep our eyes focused on Him, we're not going to become someone we don't like. We're going to transform to more into who Christ is calling us to be. But I think just being in the Word, discerning, is this from God? Is this not from God? Always before even, I don't know what you're walking through right now, but before even having a conversation, is my heart in the right place to have that conversation? Have I truly healed if you had a, conflict of some sort? Because all of those things, believe it or not, affect future conversations, relationships. And so just really being mindful of, am I truly pursuing healing? Am I truly pursuing God? Am I willing to surrender areas maybe in my life that He's asking me to surrender? And I think just by doing that, God honors and sees our hearts that, we just really love Him and want to follow Him, and He will preserve us through the trial.
Awesome. So good. So good. Okay, so let's end it off with what practical advice do you have for women to live out this character trait? So I know we've talked a little bit already about trials and making sure that it doesn't change you.
Mhm.
But if someone were to be listening to this podcast today and it's something that they need to work on, what's like one actionable item or two actionable items that they can take that makes it very clear, I can do this. I
Mhm.
can live out this character trait of goodness so that it's easy for them to do. So it's not stressful.
Sure. I think that when I look at your goodness, I remember what Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. But we always focus on the neighbor part and we forget about ourselves, but we don't realize that we can't love our neighbor if we don't truly love ourselves. And I was thinking, well, a lot with our society right now, oh, you're good means you accept everything, sometimes we just allow people to walk all over us. We don't
Yes.
really allow them to respect us. And so I think learning to say no and learning to say yes. As we walk with God, we have to let God guide us into what relationships should stay and what others should go. We cannot thrive in a toxic environment.
Yes,
We
very true.
need people that will build us up and encourage us and point us to God, and not people that are continue like gaslighting us, or I don't know, just leading us the wrong way, because at the end of the day, that is the fruit that we're going to sow in our lives. Bitterness, anger, rejection. So we have to sow and build up our lives as we build up other people's lives. So yeah, I think that just learning to say yes and no, and if you don't know what that means, that means boundaries. Really, starting to set boundaries in our lives that are gonna be fruitful and in a godly way, not in a worldly way, and that are gonna point us to knowing more God and bringing good to the community, bringing
Can,
beneficial things to the community.
Can you give an example of, and you can either make up an example or use something from your own life. Can you give us an example of a boundary that can help goodness flourish in life, just so that they understand what a boundary is?
Sure. So, I had a friend in Every time that I met her, I was barely able to speak. It really gave me a lot of anxiety. And I didn't feel like this was a friendship that it was like, reciprocal in regards to listening to each other, and encouraging each other. It was draining. So I realized that this friendship didn't work because it made me feel anxious. I just didn't want it to partake anymore in that. And so I had to take a step from that friendship. And that, believe it or not, brought freedom to my life, which I also think it's connected to goodness. Beneficial godly things are often or all the time going to bring freedom and healing to your life. And that's something that I would like you to remember. So saying no, I'm going to take back, it's a boundary. I can no longer deal with this. And just recognizing that, I just want to say that it is very brave. Often people, we don't say anything because we don't want to make the other person feel bad. And mind you, you can take a step back lovingly and just be honest
Yes.
with that person. You can tell her or him, look, honestly, I feel this, I experience this, and I can tell you, it can truly go both ways. The other person can be like, "I'm so sorry." And then there can be a shift in their relationship. Or sadly, it the other person can say like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then it's even to me a clear point that you have to take a step back. But I think that overall, we have to be very mindful of who we spend our time with and the relationships we have.
How did it help you? So when you did establish that boundary and you talked about how it can bring healing and stuff, when you did say I need to take a pause from this relationship, how did it help you live out goodness? Like what did it do in you? Because I know a lot of people are gonna know exactly what you're talking about. I know I've had to step away from relationships that weren't, and I hate to say this because relationships aren't just about what serves me,
No.
but relationships should serve everyone involved, right? We
Mhm.
shouldn't just take because like you said, it can be draining when you have someone who simply takes. A relationship, one should never be transactional, but there
Mhm.
should be a give and take, right? Like you
Mhm.
give, you take, you need, I give, I need, you give, and it should just be kind of natural like that. And sometimes
Mhm.
it's not. I think every single human being can understand. So by putting the boundary and saying, I need a moment, how did
Mhm.
that help you?
Okay. I think that I did no longer carry the burden of that the whole situation brought because I was at a place, I was conflicted, I was afflicted, and honestly, there was an extent to which I dreaded meeting with this person. I kept on showing up because I thought that was the good thing to do, but at the end of the day, and again, I think it should be reciprocal. So if I focus a friendship all about me and what the other person can do for me, then I think we're missing the point of a friendship.
Yes.
Because I think Jesus is our best example of being a friend. He gave himself up for us. And obviously, that, like, he went to death, right? I think there's another extreme there because sometimes we would go to people pleasing and accepting everything. So I think there needs to be a balance where I am loving my friend, I am there for my friend, I am edifying my friend, I have the best in mind for my friend, but again, also loving and respecting myself because if I don't love and respect myself first, then I cannot love my friend properly.
Correct. I think what I hear you saying is, and I'm sorry, my throat today is just not, I don't know if it's the cold, I
Um,
don't know what it is.
it's okay.
What I'm hearing is in that situation, when you would meet with your friend, I'm sure you felt reserved, like almost like you couldn't be yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? I've been there. It's something I struggle with when I have to be around people and I have to heavily filter myself to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard because then why? When you can't be your authentic self, you
Mm.
can never let goodness shine.
Mm.
Because
I
if the
love that.
goodness is in you, right? The goodness is in you, you're always going to hold it back because what if they're going to get offended by my goodness or by who
Mm.
I am? So you're always restraining, you're never fully giving
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
believe, I know the Old Testament talks about the 10% and giving the 10%. I see the new covenant as we give our all,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about
Yeah.
everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
even my finances, my life, my friends, my family, my hobbies, everything is for God, to God, through God, with God. Like I lay everything at God's altar. So if I can't bring all of that with me to a place to be around people,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm really, in a sense, now I'm like thinking about this, I'm really idolizing these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, you're idolizing them. And it prevents you from truly being good because think about how you would feel when you were in that place that you didn't want to be. You're always going to hold something back, and it is going to be hard to be beneficial to that person because all you want is to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. There is no honesty. There is no you're not being genuine, and probably the other person isn't either. You're all withholding, and so that friendship, if intimacy and vulnerability is not in place, then it's not really a friendship that's gonna thrive.
Yeah.
Like you have to be around people that are gonna love you for who you are and encourage you in the path that God has for you.
Yes. And when you are, you naturally do good. This is a great point that I want to make because one of the things that I've been sharing is living this Proverbs 31 life isn't about what you do, it's about who you are. So when you focus on
Mm-hmm.
who you are first, it's so much easier to live this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have an environment and you have a heart, so first and above everything, eyes are focused on God, eyes focused on Jesus. He is the author and consumer of our faith. He is everything to us. So he is number
Mm-hmm.
one. And then you surround yourself with people who continue that premise, right? Where you live your life all for God and you know goodness, who is God, and you're surrounded by goodness to some degree. It
Mm-hmm.
allows you to live a life of goodness without even trying. You don't even have to
Yeah.
try. So, for example, when I moved into the house that I'm in now, I have two neighbors. Thankfully, those are my only neighbors, like direct neighbors. And I
Mm-hmm.
went and I met them both, and I don't know them very well, but it was very easy for me to be kind to them, to express goodness, to talk to them. We all are all very friendly with each other, but
Mm-hmm.
because I no longer, because, and I say that, and the reason it's meaningful is there was a time where I had to worry for my physical safety. And I didn't really trust a lot of people because of what I'd
Mm-hmm.
gone through. So the fact that now I'm able to live in this safe environment and I have a group of people around, like a community of people around me that I trust, I know are there for me, and I'll just keep it at that. It's easy for me to now walk outside my door, talk to my neighbors, and be good, have express goodness without worry. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense to anybody, but it was really big to me. So hopefully that's making sense to everyone where if you are in an environment and going back to what Juanita's been talking about in terms of boundaries. Really, it's about creating a culture around you where you can say yes and you can say no. There's no people pleasing involved. The only person you need to please is God. You can find that in Galatians 1:10. It is like the verse I live on. If God is pleased with me, who cares what man has to say? And when
Mm-hmm.
you can live from that place and you know God, and God is a good God. He
Mm-hmm.
he is good in everything he does. He's good in his work. In creation we see that. And why was he good in his work? Because he created all those things for us.
Mm-hmm.
The world was created for man, not man for the world. God created the world so that man can live in, and he wanted it to all be good. And he seeks our good every single day. He's loving on us so much. So when we can reflect that, when we embody that, when we accept his goodness in our life, we won't allow other people to steal that from us.
That's really good.
And boundaries is important. I've been there like, hey, you doing this to me constantly, hurting me the way that you are, is causing something inside my soul that's making me become someone I don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Angry, frustrated, bitter, cynical. There was a time like when I first left my abusive situation, it was something God told me because I had become a very cynical person. I didn't trust anybody. Everyone was like, I kept everyone out. I couldn't trust anyone. Everyone was lying to me. And that kind of makes you not a nice person when you have those
Mm-hmm.
walls. There's a difference between a boundary and a wall. That's a
Mm-hmm.
conversation for another day. But God spoke to me and said, don't let the situation you're in change who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Be kind. If someone can't handle your kindness and they see it as a weakness and they take advantage of it, that's a them problem, not a you problem, right? Like you said, sometimes people step on us. We let people step on us. So it's a matter of when you understand how much God loves you and how good he is to you and how good he wants, how much goodness he wants for you, you're not going to let people step on you.
Mm-mm. No. And I know it's hard to do boundaries because I've experienced that. And usually, if people are not used to hearing the word no, there's probably going to be a lot of conflict just in that. And I want to encourage you that we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional with who you let into your life. And that usually that intentionality is going to come at a price, but it's going to be so worth it. Because honestly, for me, I've seen it. Like it's brought flourishing to my heart. That before all that toxicity was just asphyxiating it.
Yes, I agree. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like you said, I mean, it takes courage to love yourself enough and the other person enough because the boundary isn't just for you, it's for them too.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what you're feeling inside and they don't need all that either. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
we're sparing them that. Yeah. Well, Juanita, thank you so much for being here. This was an awesome conversation. This is why I love conversation because as we talked about goodness, we also talked about a bunch of other stuff because life isn't just about one thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
everything's intertwined. And then as
Mm-hmm.
women, our minds connect all sorts of things. It's what makes us different from men. Like we actually can connect things and we can be very introspective, but that introspection can be negative. In my life, introspection is very positive, but it's
Mm-hmm.
because I have learned how to do it in a healthy way where it's not about me, 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 me. It's about how can I become better to be
Mm-hmm.
beneficial to the other, which is
Mm-hmm.
the
I love
definition of goodness, right? So,
Yeah.
as you said, so, it's just, it's beautiful. Life is beautiful. And if you are struggling right now and you're not feeling like goodness is something that you have in you, you do have it in you because you are
Mm-hmm.
made in the image and likeness of God. And as Juanita mentioned, you may be going through a situation, circumstances, struggles, trials that are darkening the goodness that you have. And
Mhm.
I hope that this episode turned on the light to
Mm.
expel that darkness, because you
Yes.
do have goodness in you. And if you're someone who's been told that there is no goodness in you, that's a lie. My husband is someone that growing up and then even into adulthood, he was raised in what some refer to as a cult. I don't know if I would go that far anymore. I think the word cult is just overly used nowadays, but it was a very toxic Christian environment. And he was told so many times that there was no goodness in him. And
Mm.
it's basically because he wasn't falling in line. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
he would question things and stuff. And it really messed with his identity. It
Mm.
messed with, everything he'd do is, I'm a screw up, I'm no good. And it wasn't because he's the best human I know. Like he's my favorite human being, but he really struggled to get out of that because he
Mm.
was constantly told he wasn't good, right? I see
Mm.
darkness in you. I see
Yeah.
darkness in you. And like you said, we have to protect our environment. Same thing goes with prophetic words. If
Yes.
someone gives you a prophetic word and it does not come from the heart of God, don't just receive words because they said it came from God. Go to God, because God
Mm-hmm.
is never going to tell you that there is darkness in you. He's
Mm-mm.
going to tell you there is light, because the
Because,
light
right.
expels darkness. That's the way it works.
There you go.
So, Juanita, full circle here, full circle. There is goodness in us. We are made in his image. It is not pompous or prideful to say that there is good in us and that want to live that life. It is Godfidence.
Mm-hmm.
He made us that way. And when we live that way, we love ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows other people to love us better,
Absolutely.
and it
Yeah.
allows us to love other people better. So,
Mm-hmm.
so good, so good. Well, Juanita, you are a gem of a person. I know that you are working on your website and all that stuff. So, do you want to share with everyone how they can get in touch with you? I don't know if everything's live yet, but I can put the links in the show notes too.
Sure, it is. First of all, thank you so much for having me over. And inviting me to meet your community. It's a treasure. Thank you. And yes, if you want to connect with me, the Facebook group, it's available if you want to join. The plan is to begin on March to meet weekly. But you can also find me on Instagram and my website. Yes, that's another way you can connect with me. So
Yes.
I'll Andrea is gonna post, I guess, all the links.
Yep. I'll put all
Yeah.
the links below so that everyone can connect with you. Thank you, Juanita. I appreciate your little gold nuggets of wisdom.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.
Lady, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Before you go, I want to share something with you. Our stats show that most of you come back and listen every week, which is incredible and humbling and truly means so much. But most of our listeners actually aren't subscribed. If you'd like to help increase the reach of In Her Image, one of the simplest ways you can do that is by subscribing to the podcast. Subscribing helps the platform know this content matters and allows these conversations to reach more women who need them. You can also help by sharing an episode with a friend, letting them know that, hey, I listened to this and it was a blessing to me, and I think it can bless you too. Or you can leave a review. You can like, you can comment. All of these small actions make such a big difference. I want to thank you for being here and for being part of this and helping us grow. Until next time, keep becoming who God made you to be.